As we prepare to usher in episode 101 of the acclaimed Jabber Jawn, may I remind you that these iconic roles we portray on stage are not mere creations from a playwright's mind. These are characters that we have spent hundreds of hours crafting and modding to represent society and its many voices and opinions. Many months of toiling preparation and rehearsal went on in dark, cold, empty theaters, what we broke into at night to perfect our vision. To hone to the sharpness of a surgeon's scalpel, we've bled, argued, battled. Oops, gotta stop. Mr. Moore's here. See you tonight.
Frog sitting on a log, one of them fell in. One frog said to the other frog, well, you better go get her. Two little frogs sitting on a log, one of them fell in. Last little frog, he sat and thought, good thing they can swim. Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn. Three little frogs sitting on a log, one burst into a grin. One frog said to the other frog, wonder what's got into him. Two little frogs sitting on a log, one laughed until he is red. Last little frog, he sat and thought, must have been something I said. Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn. Down in the gutter, think of all the things that you do better. Wasn't gonna bring Mr. Much to get on Welcome to Jabber Jawn. It's so good to see all of you. Make yourself comfortable. We can see you. Hopefully the chats are working so you can talk to us and steer the conversation a little bit. I'm Nathan Moore.
I'm Kyle Hogg.
I'm Steve Moore.
So good to be with you. We start with an arriving song, end with a leaving song, and no idea what happens in the middle. I'm in no hurry to get to heaven, ain't about to go there now. Ain't packing my bags, ain't slowing down. That's funny, 'cause heaven is heaven, here I am living in a hole. I'm in no hurry to get to heaven, I'd just soon go downtown. Me, I think I'll always like having living folk around. I'm sure I'll get along with the angels, but they ain't like anyone I know. Oh, I'm in no hurry to get to heaven. In fact, I might not ever go. Come on, Kyle. I'm in no hurry to get to heaven. That's the best place there ever was. There must be something wrong with me, but I can always get to eternity tomorrow. Oh, I'm in no hurry to get to heaven. Thanks, but no thanks. There's bluebirds on the window, there's lilies on the banks. If I had to choose, I'd even sit here in sorrow. Oh, I'm in no hurry to get to heaven. In fact, I might not ever go. I'm in no hurry to get to heaven. Some trouble about a pearly gate. If you go tell St. Peter for me, he'll just have to wait. I'm hanging on here long as I can hold. Well, I'm in no hurry to get to heaven. Oh, I hope I'm not needed up there. I prefer to breathe the fresh country air. But if I had to choose, I'd even breathe the city smoke. Oh, I'm in no hurry to get to heaven. In fact, I might not ever go.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yes, sir.
True story, true story.
Yeah.
Looks like the chats are working. We're in. Should we just pull an Andy Warhol and just stare at the camera for the next hour and a half?
I can do that.
Maybe fall asleep.
There is no confidence buster worse than watching you play the banjo, the harmonic, and sing while I'm trying to make this work.
Let's hear it. How loud can you get it?
I still don't even know if I know how to do it.
Hum, don't blow. Hum, don't blow. That's good. Like, really let it up. What's a do like row row your boat.
Why is it so deep now?
Here, let me
start them off.
let's change the key to a higher one. Yeah, that's good. All right, still not the right key for you. Here, let's take it a little lower for you. Here,
How do I change
right
the
there.
key? More tone? I don't want to hurt the beaver.
There you go. That was nice. That was good. Your technique's evolving on viscerally, visibly, palpably in real time. Evolution.
Practice now some wacky weed and I'm good to go.
Well, I think there's something to be said about practicing.
It's something.
I'm a big advocate.
I think if you'll just give that about 20 minutes a day out there on the porch and see what happens.
There's something to be said for this not being sitting here next week when I show up. Where did the kazoo go?
Just his mic.
Dad's? Yeah, it sort of disappeared into his shirt there. Oh, there you go. Well, that's going to work.
I hope it makes me more intelligent.
we put the filter on it.
I've
the
really
AI
been
filter.
having some trouble lately with just common
Sense?
sense and and knowing what not to do. I keep doing stupid things. And I should think at this age you'd stop doing. Well, I do. I don't do as many stupid things as I used to do, but I can't do as many things as I used to do. So I don't even know if that's qualifying. If that's qualifying as being progress or not. I think it's just passing on.
Well, I'm glad to know there's absolutely no hope for the rest of us.
Well, you can look at that any way you want. I'd say if you get to be where I am and done what I've done and have the body, you're lucky to be here. You're having a good day.
Right.
So.
But the hope that we'll someday stop making these stupid mistakes that we
Oh
repeatedly
no,
make.
that part.
It's just actually it gets worse.
Well, I think what you can do is advance from one class to another. Like you might be really so good that you go to the next level, but you're at the bottom of that level.
Like you're leveling up.
Yeah, you're finding your level. I think is what I hope
You're
is
making
happening.
like black belt mistakes at this point.
Exactly. Depending on how much you practice.
Right. Again.
You can get better at it. You can improve on anything.
Now, do you have any stupid mistake that you think you've made more often than any other stupid mistake?
Repeating stupid mistakes.
Like you're like, God, how many times have I done this?
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel stupider each time you do
Number
it?
one would be falling in love.
You know what? When I was asking you that question, I thought he could say something about love. I knew you were.
Yeah. Well, that's that.
Set you up. All right, lead into that.
Yeah.
That's your lead in.
That's that telepathy stuff. Or prediction. Sometimes it's just prediction. But yeah, but no, there's just part of the whole deal. I think we're where we ought to be.
I like the sound of that.
Speaking for myself only, I don't know where anybody else is.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah. I think here's something that's worth knowing. That every human being, every single human being on the planet right now is different.
Yeah,
And that's pretty interesting to think about.
it is.
Even though you like see them like a military group where they're all marching in perfect unison or getting ready for the new pope's name and they're all marching, but inside every one of those bodies there's a different
Completely unique
a whole
individual.
different life form mentally about the world and what they're hearing, and we're all hearing different things, and that's part of what I got out of that telepathy thing you were talking about.
So you've started listening to the telepathy tapes.
I did.
It sounds like you're a lot further along than we are. We're only on episode 3, I think.
I think I'm up to 7. But
Wow.
a couple of them I slept through, and I can't remember which ones.
How are you listening to them?
Well, I put them on at 2 o'clock when I can't sleep.
On Alexa
on the
or
phone.
on your phone?
Well, I'll do both. I go to the TV and get them on YouTube. They're all right there on YouTube. And they're good because you can read them and hear them at the same time.
Oh, that's good. That is good.
And then the telephone, the phone, I just get it on there, and I read those. I mean, I listen to those. But I'll listen to those by the bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll sleep for a little while, and I'll wake up and listen to it. And, you know, I think I'm listening to it all, but I've missed some.
Right.
But I am up
Real
to
quick, hey Saul, for those that don't know what we're talking about, give them a little insight into what we're talking about.
Well, there's these things out there now that are called the telepathy tapes, and they're a big
It's a
item,
podcast.
evidently a podcast. That's my first podcast I ever have done. So
It's fun to get on the train of a good viral podcast.
Yeah. Well, I can see where it could help get you through the day for, kill a couple hours. But yeah, what the idea is that with certain young people, autistic, a lot of times they've been identified as no speaking.
Nonverbal.
Nonverbal autistics. And that's where it's come out of. And the idea is that they are able to read each other's minds, and then that leads into what's going on here. How do you do that? And the whole idea of ESP and how we learn things and how we know things, and what's going on. And so it's very interesting. I'm very logical minded and very left-brained, as I taught science and all that, but I'm very open to what's going on here because it's trying to understand something, a phenomenon, and it's all based on energy. It's energy based, and what they're saying is that the material, the scientific community seems to be more material based, as in matter, as in chemistry, as opposed to energy. And everybody knows, matter and energy are versions of the same thing. So at least that's what Einstein told us with E equals
And it
mc
seems to be like an
squared.
ongoing phenomenon that as science progresses and evolves and learns more and more and gains more abilities to look closer and deeper into things, it's coming up with stuff that sounds more like mystical poets than ever before, like some of the quantum theory stuff, some of the string theory stuff, that kind of stuff. That
Well, one of the things they're talking about here is how science, the scientific community, has rejected studying this phenomenon because it doesn't fit into the material-based reality that they know of. So it hasn't been studied well, and they're wanting it to be more open, and it opens up doors to other ways of perceiving.
do you think that's true? I mean, it's the same scientific community that had to get their brain around what Einstein said.
Yeah, I don't agree with it completely at all. But I know that there is that kind of prejudice out there. But to be that systemic, I'm not so sure I go along with what they're saying there. Because what they're really saying is they don't want it to be like that, because then they'd have to study something they don't understand. But that's not really science. A real scientist is fascinated by that and won't rest until he solves the issue and figures it out. So the science I know is not like the one they're describing, but they're talking about university politics and, you know, things like that I don't ever deal with. I'm in the theoretical and they're in the real world. But you have to, you know, you're not going to learn unless you study it. And I think that's the one thing I can say is they haven't studied this enough to have, and I haven't read enough or listened to enough to make a whole lot of talking about it with my opinions tonight. So I'm just throwing it out there.
Right.
It's interesting.
It's definitely interesting.
It's definitely interesting.
And I've without the experience, I'm a lot like you in nature, like completely open to anything, but also I need some real evidence. I need my left brain has to be satisfied.
Well, you know, to the interesting, there's so many interesting facets to it. One of them is that all animals and all creatures, not all animals, all creatures, life forms, have an energy and are emitting an energy and can interpret other energies. So a tree is feeling you. You know, it knows you. Like I have a picture I'm going to put up on Facebook. The two trees in my backyard. One's a great big oak tree, and the other's a big, beautiful 20-foot spruce. And I planted both of those trees.
Oh wow!
When they were little, and when I walk in that yard, those trees know me, and I know them, and that's part of why I like where I live, because we know each other, and you can apply that across the board to the fish in your pond or whatever. You know, we know each other, and we're safe, and
I love it.
that's what it's all about. And it comes from, I know your energy, and you know, I don't have any record of it, but I know it. I can feel when it's there. But if you can interpret it and understand it and change it into words in some way, with the nonverbal autistic kids, they didn't have a way of communicating to us.
Right.
And that's only been recently discovered.
But therein also lies a little bit of the rub of why people are skeptical, because nonverbal autistic kids, a lot of them use like facilitated communication by their caregiver. So it's been a long time controversy, almost like a Ouija board, because the caregiver a lot of times is like holding their hands as they're typing. And so it's like, who's really deciding what letters they're hitting? And there's all different kinds of ways that these kids communicate. And some of them are way more compelling than others. Some of the less compelling ones, I wonder why they're even included, because I've seen the video on some of the sessions, and I'm like, come on. The person's just sort of holding the board that they're hitting in a different place each time. And
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any data.
you're just
on
listening to the podcast, but there's actual videos on YouTube of the sessions.
Yeah.
And some of them you can sort of see like how, like a lot Like there was this famous story about the guy that had the horse that could count. Remember that guy or that horse, where he would do math problems like 4 + 3, and the horse would take his hoof and count out 7.
Right.
And you're like, oh my God, how can this horse count? And even the horse owner was not aware that his body language was signaling the horse when to stop.
Oh, wow.
But he wasn't a fraud. He wasn't trying to fool anybody.
Right.
But there was a very subtle thing that his body sent a signal to the horse when
Sure.
he was done.
You got it.
And he was convinced himself. He was like, I just don't even understand how this horse can do this. We got some good people in the chat here. John Huggins, good to see your name.
Hey, John.
Dustin, welcome to the show. Dustin says, for sure there is life out there, even with all the info that has come out about UFOs, I'm still a skeptic. Yeah, there's a lot of those rabbit holes that you can go down, and the UFO people use sort of the same thing. All the scientific community refuses to investigate. And it's like, I don't, that's one thing I just don't buy. I feel like, it's even like you see these accusations about journalism a lot of times. I'm just like, no, if what you're saying was true, any journalist worth their salt would give their left leg for this story. It's not that they're not willing to touch it. They don't believe it. They looked into it and they're like, no. I don't think it's that they're afraid to talk about it. I feel like they don't think it's true.
Well, part of that is in a lot of science, a lot of scientific studies, you have to actually study something scientifically, you have to get it down to one variable and then develop a controlled experiment that you can and this kind of stuff doesn't lend itself to being able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
There are too many variables, for one thing, and you just described a couple, but there's all kinds of other variables that can't be studied.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can't study something, you don't study it. So a lot of times it's not maybe a conscious political decision, it's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I see this, because, for years we had those autistic kids, you talk about a tragedy, those kids are not, they're in there, but there's no way they can communicate with you, have been put in institutions
Mm-hmm.
and put away from society. When, a lot of the greatest minds we've ever had that we know as people had all kinds of different autistic type issues, but that made them more intelligent. It didn't make them less intelligent, it made them more intelligent. Some of them are just too smart,
Mm-hmm.
and there's all kinds of possibilities. That's what I was saying earlier about every individual person on the planet's different in the way that their minds work and the way that they conceive the things. I mean, there are lots of comparisons where they're the same, but there are always differences because of the possibilities of rolling the dice that many times.
Mm-hmm. And there's also, God has a sense of humor, so there's also just the possibility that it doesn't work when you test it.
Yeah.
Like there's something about the nature, the scrutiny of the scientist or the lab or the context that it's like a lead vest for an X-ray or something. Like there's something about measuring it that eliminates its viability or something. Like it's because I know quantum physics could back me up on that. That particle isn't anywhere until you measure it. Otherwise, it's Schrodinger's cat or whatever you call it. It's everywhere at once. But the moment you measure it, it becomes fixed in position. But it's that observation, the energy of the observation that actually gets you the result. I might not be making any sense, but there are metaphysical impacts of trying to study something.
Definitely.
And something like telepathy. Well, here's just a quick little tidbit. We've been babysitting Elliot and Phoebe every Monday, which is just a wonderful thing in our lives at the moment. And Hunter, my brother's wife, is the one that got us all into the telepathy tapes. Well, we had Elliot and Phoebe on Monday, and we had this little game that has these numbered tiles that all stack into this little plastic thing, and you push the plastic thing forward, and 2 numbers pop out, and it's for a game, but we were just playing with it. And I said, Elliot, what are the next 2 numbers going to be? And he goes, 63. And I pulled the thing out, slid it back. There's 2 tiles sitting there, a 6 and a 3. 63.
Wow.
Completely, first time out of the gate, completely nailed it.
How?
Exactly.
Wow.
I will say he couldn't do it again. But at the same time, Catherine and I freaked out so hard, I don't see how he possibly could do it again. Like, that's new energy. But when he was just straight, I was like, Elliot, what are the next 2 numbers? 63. 63.
Wow.
It was really, I freaked out. I was like, oh my, I mean, I freaked out because we've been listening to the telepathy tapes and he just did it. I was like, I don't even know if I should tell Hunter this.
Wow.
Completely did it.
It's funny you were talking about how God has a sense of humor. If you're looking for something, it doesn't work that day. My dad used to read all these political thriller books, and they always had snipers and all this stuff in it. In almost every single book, it was like the snipers would say, if you're looking for something, don't look. Just have your eyes. Just like you'll see stuff more out of, like when you're not looking for something, that's when you see something. Like if you're looking for somebody moving, you're too concentrated. Just go relax. And it happened today. I was taking a pill, and I thought of that. I dropped the pill on the ground, and I was like just, staring at the floor. And I thought, don't really look for it. Just like let your head go around. I found it in like 3 seconds.
Oh, wow.
But it's sort of like the same thing you say. If you're looking for something, you're so concentrated on what you're looking for, you don't really see what you should be observing.
Boy, that analogy applies all over. I ended up doing a 4-hour live stream last night for practice, trying to get a solo on the new track that I've been recording. So I just thought I'd mix it up. I was like, I got this new track. It needs a solo. Let's see what we can do. 4 hours later, I still didn't get it, but it was really, really fun. But that was a sort of a similar version, but we were talking for a little bit. It was like when you get laser focused on one part of a song, you miss the bigger picture of the tune. So you're like, oh my God, that sounds so good. But then you play it in context of the whole tune. You're like, why did you think that would work?
Right.
And I even just like adding a piano to a song, you get so into the piano and the part you're playing, and you're having so much fun playing it, you don't even realize that you're just like stepping on the vocal. You're ruining the whole vibe of the track. Like just because you're laser focused on what you're doing, you're not stepping back and being able to see the whole picture at the same time. It's a similar phenomenon.
That's very interesting.
And another similar phenomenon that I found through the process last night that we were talking about last week about not being able to tell the same joke twice or the same story twice. I've been in the studio with 2 different kinds of musicians that if they're taking a solo on a track, like one person has the idea that they want, and then they just try to nail it. And that's a really fun person to work with. But my spirit and a lot of people I know, they can't do the same solo twice. And I've been in the studio and it's been so frustrating because like they'll do a pat. All right, here comes the solo. All right, rip it. And they rip it and we're like, oh my God, that was perfect. Just fix that second bar and you're in. And you roll them again, completely different idea. Like they can't do it. They can't just fix that second bar because they're so it makes me realize that phenomenon that we were talking about not being able to tell the same joke twice is maybe a little bit of a deeper personality than just a surface thing. That maybe it's a sort of profound difference in way people operate.
I was thinking my reaction to those 2 individuals was like, do you think this is somewhat true that one of them is trying to, it's like playing a role. They study the role and the role is out there and they see what they want to do to put it in to portray that role. Whereas someone else, more like you, sees each experience as a new experience.
Mm.
And it's going to be done. Now you try to add what you learned, and eventually you do, but you're not interested in trying to fulfill some role. You're just interested in doing the song the way you feel it right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's exactly it.
I think that's part of where I heard you say
Mm-hmm.
you could go with that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Which reminds
Yes.
me, I have a kazoo here. I can't do the same song twice.
It's almost like the difference
Now
between
that's
jazz.
very true. I've heard that.
Jazz is like a whole genre of that, of not really being able to do the exact same thing twice. It was all about improv and riffing off. Like I was noticing that each pass, I did like 80 guitar solos last night, and each one was riffing off a different mistake and going somewhere completely brand new. And so I would start to try to do the same thing, but something would mess me up a little bit, and that little mess up would send me in a whole new direction. And I'd be like, "Oh man, that was fun." And then I would the frustrating thing was if I tried to just do the same thing every time, it just got more and more sterile. And I was looking for that mistake to make it interesting, that surprise. I wanted.
You like the surprise, you like the creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where my mind just went with all this was that I was thinking about Willie Nelson for a second. And he was 95, because I was going to make a joke and say, if you get a little older, you get like me, you don't do them twice because you can't remember what you did the last time. But then I started thinking about Willie Nelson, and I'm thinking, he's an actor. He's a role.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he sings Good Eyes, Smiling, it sounds exactly the same. And there's an art to that. I'm not saying anything wrong with that.
Right. No,
It's a beautiful thing to hear, but it's that sound he makes that no one else can make that sound. But he doesn't change the lilt of it, and he doesn't. It's always the same song,
Mm-hmm.
and it's how he portrays it in a unique way. But it's always his unique way is the same every time,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is an interesting observation about Willie. But when you hear a Willie, that's one thing that makes him so popular, is that you've been listening to him for 30 years and he still sounds the same.
Mm-hmm. It's a comfort zone.
Yeah. I guess Bob Dylan sounded the same pretty much a lot too.
Well,
but that was
Bob
different.
Dylan famously would never play something twice the same way.
Exactly.
That's why people hated seeing him live, because
Yeah.
you're trying to sing along, and he was not going to have that.
No.
I am not going to sing this in a way I've ever sung it before.
Yeah.
So he'll be like, "The answer, my friend, is a blowing in the wind." And like he had to do it different every time.
Yeah.
It's a pretty interesting, deeper personality or maybe skill set. I don't, like maybe the people that are acting the part or whatever wish they could surprise themselves in a different way, and
Yeah, or maybe they can. They just don't. They choose, which one they want to be that night. I don't know.
mm-hmm.
I can't do either. So I don't know anything about either one.
There's something I really struggle with my music and it's a fair critique, but I'm getting the memo that a lot of people don't like it when I'm theatrical. They like it when I'm genuine, and like a lot of this came up with a talking verse in a song the other night, where that old where like the country singer or Elvis on "Are You Lonesome Tonight" or something, where they break it down, they start talking the
Sure.
verse. It's sort of a classic.
Merle Haggard.
Yeah,
Darling,
darling.
I've been thinking.
But a lot of it's so funny because for me, like starting with Year 45s when I was a kid, music to me, especially rock and roll, was so theatrical. like the idea that the monkeys had just found their genuine voice, or like Judy in Disguise. I mean, there's so many. Even like Tom Waits. If you listen to a young Tom Waits, you realize at a certain point he discovered he could do this gravel thing, and it was really cool. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna become this character. And so like I've always been torn between like finding the character that I could become that was really sort of iconic, or like finding my genuine voice. Like it's just such confusing for inspiration my whole life. Like think about all the music you love, and like some of it is like, I mean, did Gwar find their real voice, or did they, like, I don't. That's always been a struggle for me, because I've always loved show tunes, like all the just different kind, like "Hello, my darling," "Hello, my baby," "Hello, my ragtime gal." Like what is that? Like it's a play. They're like little songs, can be little plays. So I try to embody these characters that I'm not. I'm a pirate in this one. I'm a cowboy in this one. But nobody wants to hear that from me. Everybody just wants to hear me.
They want to hear all the.
They don't want me to become somebody else. And so it's really cut off what I thought a lot of rock and roll was about, was becoming somebody else, like larger and bigger than life itself or something. But that's not what, and maybe I'm just not good at that acting part.
Where are you getting your data?
Oh, from, I get more input than most songwriters because I live stream.
Telepathically. But just imagine.
And Cathra has been I don't think she'll mind me calling her out here. She doesn't like it when I do certain voices. It's like, you're doing like that. It's like a hallmark. You're doing it. Stop that.
You're doing your blues voice. Stop. But like I completely understand what you're saying. But also you have to consider that like he said, we're all different. We all come from a different. We all see you differently. We all see you as someone different. Like, oh, I love it when he sings these sad songs, because he's got the ability to do that. And somebody else is like, God, stop doing. He's not a sad person. I like it when he does his upbeat songs. Like everybody has their own little vision of you. You have to, somebody walks out disappointed, and somebody else is like, this is the best show you ever did.
I mean, the thing that is, I remember when I was younger. I remember there was this doorman in Austin, Texas, that used to be like, "Come on, this is the Tom Waits of Austin. Come on in." Like, and had a little bit of a reputation, because I spent my whole youth just trying to sound like my heroes. So I went through phases of sounding like, but and you would feel the same way. Listen to any of my records from like the first 15 years of my career, unlistenable. It's not. It doesn't touch any genuine emotions necessarily. Like, I'm trying so hard, and I'm trying to sound like something I'm not, and it's sort of painful. I mean, it's also, there's some great songs, and I love the spirit of it, because I'm so earnestly trying so freaking hard to do something great or whatever. But it's like, it's really painful, and the voices are all very strange. It wasn't until like my late 20s I started to just sing like myself. Like, the whole idea of finding your voice is such a classic thing or whatever. And for me, it was parting with accepting and getting comfortable in just what I did naturally, as opposed to striving to become more than I was. By striving to become more than I was completely neglecting anything I actually had.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if that's relatable in other senses, but
I think it is.
Oh yeah, I mean, everybody. If you're a young artist or a young quarterback, whatever, people teach you how to do stuff. It takes you years to break out from what everybody's told you to do, to find your own true way of doing it.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, it's a process. It's not like you can just all of a sudden be your voice already. You have to learn by copying others and learning what works and what feels right, and that takes time to do that. The other part of it I was thinking was that you were part of a band then a lot more. And I think when, I don't know that much about it, but I would guess that if you're part of a band, that's different than being an individual on the road where you're expressing yourself. In the band, you're expressing the music of 4 or 5 people.
And you have all that energy of the music.
There's a whole energy of
oh my gosh.
That's, yeah, it overwhelms that. So you're not, it's not part of the game for you to need to be there, because what you're really trying to do is create a band energy, not a Nathan Moore energy. You don't want them walking out of there saying, "Boy, that band sucks, but Nathan's pretty good." That's what you really want, but that's not.
You wanted to say, "Who's that drunk Nick Nolte?" or whatever.
Very deep.
Now,
Hey, Joe, Elliot, and Phoebe. Good to see you.
Hey, Joe.
Hello.
Hey, Elliot.
now, like doing these
Hey,
things,
baby.
doing these things you do, like with
Hey, Hunter.
3 or 4 different people doing it. Do you ever hear like somebody before and you're like, "Oh crap, don't do like they do"? Or does that ever influence you?
What do you mean?
Like say, like when we saw you, like you were like I think it was like 4 of you, and you were the last one. So you had to sit there for like 10 minutes, listen to each one go. Are you like, "Oh my God, don't sing like that person," or don't phrase, or does that influence you at all?
I think at this point, I'm so set in my. I don't think I'd have those kinds of options. Maybe when I was younger and more malleable and hadn't found my voice yet.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not sure. We just told a story about you, Elliot, by the way, if y'all are just tuning in. You might want to rewind later.
And guess what time when the show comes in? 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
You'll know exactly where to go.
Now, so about the nonverbal, I guess I was gonna say children, but I guess adults too. Are they? Are they thinking that we just don't have the ability to hear them, or they just you have to have 2 matching people like that to hear each other, or like they're giving it out, we just aren't able to.
No,
hear.
they're able to pick up wavelengths from around them. In other words, a lot of them, their mother or their caretaker, they're reading their minds.
Okay.
So it's not just, no, it's not just between those people.
Okay.
But they do. That is their main way.
Right.
So they're more aware of it with each other. But they can pick up other, and in certain, well, I guess they're probably just getting radio. They're just like getting waves, and they don't know. But if they know the parent and they know where it's coming from, they can interpret it.
So, do you think it's actually happening? Is that your?
I think we're talking about energy fields, and I've been thinking about that for a long time in terms of everything, the way it really works. That what we're really talking about is, well, I mean, we're in a material world, and that's a wonderful thing, but it's very limited, and the energy. In other words, who are you? Are you those atoms, and so, or are you a field of energy that's been created and very special, and it sends out its vibrations into the world and has the potential to change it?
I mean, I'm flashing back to like Mr. Blackmer telling the whole class that theoretically nothing is solid, that if you punch the table at exactly the right moment, your hand will go right through it because it's all energy. And it's just sort of energy slowed down or something like that.
Yeah.
Like matter.
The simplest,
Maybe we don't live in a material world.
well, the simplest way I describe it to my own limited brain is that I think of an atom, as being energy that's chasing its tail.
Mm-hmm.
It's energy that's caught itself, and it's in a circle, and it's, we always had the atom with this electron running around, and then there's this in the center, there's this atom. But I'm saying the atom's doing the same thing. It's just a different.
But there's motion in every atom, right?
Well, yeah. That's
Like
what
even that concrete over there, if you could see
Yeah,
it on an atomic level, it's like doing
the
that
only
thing,
difference
right?
between a liquid and a solid is the rate of vibration, the energy of vibration. They're both vibrating. If you slow it down to where it's not moving at all, it disappears.
Wow.
It's absolute zero, and there's nothing there. But you
How
can't.
about that?
But you can't do that. That's the good part.
Right. But solid matter doesn't exist without that motion, is what you're saying.
It's all motion. Yeah.
So we don't live in a material world. We live in an energy field.
I think that's more accurate. You know, I think it's the way you perceive matter. But if you perceive matter as the whole thing, and don't bring energy into it, that doesn't explain a whole lot of behaviors, from heat to radio waves, for that matter. You know, I mean, to think, you know, you say, well, you can't touch it or feel it, but you know, I'm turning on a TV, and I can watch something that's happening in Rome. I can see when the Pope is, you know, named. How do you do that? How does that get to me?
I don't get it.
I mean, that's all still magic.
Yeah, even just like dialing in a radio station means that Aretha Franklin is floating in the air right here. I just need something to receive it. It's here. It's right here. Aretha Franklin is singing Respect right here, right now. I just need something with an antenna to suck it out of the air and convert it into something I can hear.
Right.
But it's here at all times. Every single radio station is right here in the air. If it wasn't, my receiver couldn't play it for me. It's so fascinating.
Just passing through.
Just passing through, just hovering or just hanging around.
And
Yeah.
no matter where you are listening to it, Willie Nelson's gonna sound the same.
Yeah, he's stepping up into character.
But one thing we need to make sure everybody knows is
We are not
that-
high right now.
so there's
It may
that.
seem like it for this conversation, but
There's that. But there's also, I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh no! Here, hit this.
Damn.
It'll come back to
get your
you.
energy back. Get your
Where's
energy.
that
Come on.
bomb?
Get your energy. Come on. Your thoughts right here. You just gotta tune in and find it.
Yep.
Now,
Oh no! He's trying to remember what he was saying. Don't look for it. Look everywhere at once, and you'll see it.
Oh my gosh, that's it.
It's happy hour.
There you go.
I
Tech
don't.
support says this is heady stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. I want
Thank you, tech
I want
support.
everybody to realize that for the last few minutes, I know I think I'm sure speak for all of us, is we're talking about things we know nothing about right now.
That's welcome to Jabberjohn on brand. Tonight is Jabberjohn 101.
Yeah, that's one of your first lessons.
Introductory course.
Yeah.
To know nothing rambles.
Yeah, and it doesn't slow us down, and that's the beauty of it. We will talk about stuff we don't know anything about and pretend we do, because, you know, that's what Willie Nelson does. Where did that come from?
No.
Willie, I'm sorry.
One of the, and I don't
Willie's like, what did I do?
Yeah, Willie,
To this
why
guy.
am I even talking to him?
I don't even know why I have thought about this before, and I don't know why this is making me think about it. Do you think if you were invisible, you could walk through things, or you would still be a body? Oh, well, because like the energy of the table or whatever. Like if you were invisible, could you put your hand through it, or the table would still stop you?
I guess there's probably
I think
multiple
it's-
versions of the
I think it's
invisible.
why are you invisible?
Well, because
Because you take invisible pills, and you can buy them online. I got some of them.
From
the
the
other
back
day.
of the comic
Well, 'cause-
book.
Yeah.
because
Well, it was in the ad in the paper, and I got me some of them, and What I was going to do was going to go on down there to the ladies' restroom,
Come on now.
in the shower room, and I was going to walk around a little bit.
Okay, so
But I left footprints.
well, so that's the,
I'm
so,
just giving you data.
so it's like, would you need to like open the door to leave, or could you just, if you're invisible, could you just walk out the door?
I guess I guess it depends.
I think it depends on if you're a materialist or a energy person.
So
But I think there's ways that you could become invisible that you still couldn't pass through things. But maybe there's ways to become invisible where you can as well.
But do you think there's anything invisible that we couldn't walk through?
Excuse me?
Is there anything invisible that we can't see that you would like hit it and you'd be like, whoa, what is that? Like an energy field that we couldn't see that would be solid.
Sure.
Like what would that be?
It'll be anything that could enough energy that could repel you, like positive and negative charges and things like
Like
that.
electric shock or something?
Yeah, it could be
I
electrical.
feel like the military works on like invisibility cloaks and ways to hide things that don't become immaterial. They're still there, but they're just directing the light in such a way that you can't see them. But if you ran into them, they're still there. Because, we see that chair because the light is bouncing off of it and coming back to our eyes.
Right.
So if you could make that light not bounce off it, and if it just absorbed all the light and nothing bounced off of it, the chair would still be there and you'd hit it, but you wouldn't
Well,
be
that's what I
able to
was
see
thinking.
it.
So you were invisible, you'd still have the physical presence of if you were visible.
Mm-hmm. But there might be something beyond.
We solved that one.
There might be something beyond just invisibility, like a ghost or something, to where.
Well, if you were able to leave your body and
Right.
float away, and that's another way part of people do it. Say they can do that.
Mm-hmm. Out of
They
body
hover over
experiences.
something. I've hovered before.
Mm-hmm.
Or that getting back to the drug problem.
I feel like they've just discussed it like that too, where they left their body and like floated through floors of their houses or whatever until they were above their house. Or
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah, I've done that.
I've heard stories.
yeah. That's that damn tequila.
Yeah.
They'll do it every time. Right before you barf.
Bates says, "Hey Steve, if you're gonna die, tell the story of the Indica Bunny one more time." It's a morbid way to request a tale.
The what?
I don't know. The Indica Bunny? Is that a story? I'm
Bunny?
not sure who this is.
Is it Bunny?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the first word? Indica?
Indica.
I'm not sure what he's referring to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good.
Now I know you have more than one
You're-
bunny
you're not gonna
story,
die.
but I don't know what the Indica Bunny story would be.
No, I don't either.
Can we get some more details?
Have I told your bunny story? I feel like I maybe have told this story, but just for the sake of telling the same story twice, when I was a kid in school, I got into this argument with this kid at my school that my dad could draw better than his dad. Have I told you this story?
It's a good one.
I was like, my dad. And he's like, oh, my dad's he can draw anything. It's like, my dad can draw anything. My dad can draw cooler stuff than your dad can. We got into this whole competition. And I was like, all right, well, tonight I'll get my dad to draw something. You get your dad to draw something. And we'll just see about this. So I go to Dad, and I'm like, Dad, you need to draw me something really great so I can beat this kid at school. And I get to school the next day. And I mean, literally, like, his dad drew, like, this samurai warrior, like, all detailed, shielding, like, armor, cool face or whatever. And Dad had drawn me maybe the coolest little bunny you've ever seen in your life. I mean, he did have some good detail in the tail and everything. But it was It was a pretty.
But it was
funny-
a piece of shit compared to the other kids.
I don't even remember the rest of the story. I don't know like how it went from there, but I remember the bunny very visible. I can completely see that bunny now.
Do you
It
remember
was
doing
just-
that?
I remember the bunny because that's the only bunny I could draw. I drew it every time you had to draw.
I wonder
I
if
had to
we
draw
still have
Maybe
that
that was the
somewhere.
indica bunny.
What's that?
Maybe that was the indica bunny.
Maybe that was the indica bunny.
There is a bunny picture out at Joe's house on the wall.
Is that the one?
No,
Mm.
that's a fancier one. It took longer to do.
Mm.
I had to do each hair, and but it's the same motif.
Have you ever seen Nathan's Land, Kyle? I'm sure I've shown you this.
Oh, that was our backdrop for a while?
I think this is pretty funny. Dad drew me this when I was like 9 years old. And then he also had to do them because he'd done this for me. He had to do this for his other two sons as they came, but there was quite a bit of distance between us. And so Daniel was like 10 years after me, and Joe is 14 years after me. And this is, you were younger, you're just getting into things. And there's just so much detail in this thing that, every time I look at it, still to this day, I'll discover something new in this picture. But then I see Daniel's. It's pretty elaborate. By the time you got to Joe's, it's like, here you go. Here's
A stick figure with his arm up. I love you, Daniel. I gotta go. Did you sign it, Dad? Nope, nothing. Just
Y'all can see this in the opening credits of each Jabberjawn. It's in there.
that's crazy.
Isn't that amazing? Still to this day, I'll find things in there that I never really noticed before. You will too. Every time you look at that, you'll be like, oh, there's like people in a boat in that little pond.
Do you remember drawing this? Was a
Well, that's something I had, and I worked on it for hours and hours. It was a doodle.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I did was I'm not an artist. I'm a doodler, and that's all a doodle. So that's just something I did. In other words, I didn't do that at one sitting. I did that over a period of months.
Probably in that, like one of the few memories I have from when we lived together when I was a child, when you were still with Mom, is that down in the basement, he built this little room out of mesh wire and had a bunch of wild birds in there with a recliner in the middle. And he would go into this wire room that he created and just have birds land on him. and stuff.
Actually, let me correct you immediately. They were not wild birds.
Oh, they weren't?
They were finches that back then you could buy in the pet store.
Oh, wow.
They were not, they were finches from other countries. So they stopped letting them into the country, I think, for different reasons. But those were not native birds.
for different reasons. We know why they're being held captive in somebody's basement.
Word got out. You realize what people are doing?
They're taking them, shipping them to foreign countries and being held in a cage.
So that-
a wire room.
So that's not a false memory.
I had a rocking chair in there, and I had some branches that looked like trees, and I would go sit in there and think about
And
life.
work on Nathan's Land.
Work on Nathan's Land and
Now, would you sit quietly in there? Did you have,
Read
like,
Carlos
music playing?
Castaneda.
read Carlos
Listen to Bob Dylan.
Castaneda, and hit that bong every once in a while, and that would get me through the night.
Now, were you naked or were you dressed in like a
Oh hell no! I was
He was
dressed up.
invisible.
I was down in the.
No, if he's not down here, let's go back upstairs. You hear him laughing.
Yeah, it was in the laundry room, so I had to dress. So
Oh God, that's crazy. Was it really in the laundry room?
yeah.
A friend of mine in New Jersey said, "Oh, you can come over to the house. You have to be ready." And I was like, "Why?" She said, "My mom keeps birds in the laundry room." The
What?
same thing. They just flew around in the laundry room.
Really?
Yeah.
Just pooping on all the
I
laundry?
guess.
Yeah, well, this was a screened-in cage within the laundry room, so it was. So they
It was a
worked-
whole room with wire mesh walls, whatever, with a door that he had to go in.
Oh yeah.
That reminds me of you, like you like to sleep late. One time I went over to that same person's house. We went over there, we were banging on the door, and she told me her mom like used to sleep late. We went over there like one time like 4 o'clock in the afternoon to go get her for something. I'd never been upstairs to her room. She's like, "Oh, come on upstairs." And I was like, "Man, it's a cool house." I was looking around, and I just walk into this other room. It's another bedroom. I'm looking at it all of a sudden. I was like, "Oh!" It was like her mom was like asleep in the bed at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Scared the shit out of me. I was like, "Oh my god!" I jumped back. I said, "God, there's somebody in there." She goes, "It's my mom. I told you she slept late." I was like, "Damn, it's 4 o'clock." And we're like all talking. It didn't wake her up.
Now, sleeping late, when you say it's sleeping late, it makes it sound like we sleep more than other people.
No,
And
just her
that's not
time.
true.
She was
It's just
like,
a different time schedule.
Yeah.
So what was, do you remember the impetus of inspiration for creating that wire room?
Because it was a bitch to sit in an aquarium all day long.
Scuba gear, having to put all that on.
The aquarium didn't last that long. We got rid of that. Got some birds.
Actually, that's not true. I had another room, the fallout shelter, that had a 55-gallon
Oh,
tank
you had that scary fish
with
in
that
there, right?
oxalotl or
See, I don't remember the fallout shelter.
yeah, the
I wish I
fallout.
did.
It had a 55-gallon tank, which at one time had fish in it, but at this time, I had bought a mud puppy,
Which is a kind of fish?
Which is no, it's a salamander,
Oh, right.
about a foot long.
Whoa.
That's a salamander that long, and it lived. I had it in a dark area. I didn't even have a light on. It didn't like the light, and yeah, had the water in there, and he would lay on the bottom, and if you dropped an earthworm in there, he would just watch it, and all and be gone. So that was what happened to my aquarium. It was active too.
But then you take people. You told a story. You took people in there and scared them or something.
Well, I would take people in and show them that it was famous. The way he would come up and grab it was scary.
Wow.
And the first time I did it, I didn't know what was happening.
You
And he
sparked a
came
little bit
up
of a
toward
memory.
me, and I threw it up and hit my hand on the ceiling.
Oh, wow.
I jumped, and
Scary.
yeah, it was after me because I was an extension of the worm.
Now, where did you get that from? Did you catch it or you bought it somewhere?
I worked for some people at I shouldn't say.
I killed a man in the payment they gave me this.
I actually ordered it as part of my school supplies.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
that's right. You told us that.
Oh, wow.
And because you could buy.
Hey, I don't think those are native to these parts, is it?
No, I'd never seen one before. I had to see it. I just heard about them. It lived up to all of my expectations.
That's another explanation of why you also had like a giant, like 6 foot long wooden bin on legs that was just full of dirt for the earthworms you kept in there. It was like a little earthworm civilization.
Well, that was for fishing
It was
too.
for fishing.
I mean,
And the mud puppy.
yeah, the mud puppy got some of the good ones, but I was mainly interested in fishing bait.
Are night crawlers still as prevalent as they used to be?
That's a good question. I tend to think not, but I think they are. You just have to have the right yard. Like my grass is too thick. When I was in Hillcrest, my yards, you need to have some dirt in between there so they can come out and be earthworms.
As a kid, whenever we had just the right rain, Dad would send me out to collect earthworms with a flashlight and a bucket. And it was one of the funnest things in the world. Because for some reason, when it rains, they leave a hole in the ground and just lay in the yard. And you go up with a flashlight, and they're night crawlers is what they were called, right? This was at night. That's why you had the flashlight.
Night crawlers,
Strange
yes.
phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that made it so fun is you had to gauge within seconds which end was going into the ground. So it's like laying just flat on the ground. So he had to go in and pinch it right where it goes back into the ground.
Oh, wow.
And stop it, because if you're too slow or you grab the wrong end, it goes like sucking its tongue back
Right.
in, and it just goes. An amazing feat, really, how quickly. I don't know, like what kind of fibers it has on the side
it
of
has
it.
seedy, two little hair-like things on each of its rings.
Segments, right?
And they pull. They can grab and pull in. So they
It's just
literally
like-
pull you back in, pull them back in.
And so you had to like gauge like what was the head and this part's going back into the ground, and then you shine the light on it. I don't know if the light. It's not like bullfrog gigging where they would freeze. That was
No,
just
they
to
would
see
scare
it.
them.
So then you pinch it right where it's going into the ground, and then like if you get it right, then you have to like wiggle it out so it doesn't break, because it could be very satisfying and you get a nice good one out.
Did you have?
But I just feel like I haven't seen that. I mean, maybe it's just because I'm not out with the flashlight.
Yeah. Well, you know, we'd always do it after a summer thunderstorm, after the rain, because that's when they can move better. And it's all, by the way, the reason they're doing it is for sex. You know, the other thing you haven't mentioned is that what you're looking for was a double.
Oh, right.
That's when they would come out and of course, earthworms are smarter than we are. They have both sex organs. Well, I don't know how smart it is. They can't do it to themselves, but they can do each other at the same time. If you know what I mean.
So any earthworm could hook
They
up
have-
with any other earthworm.
Yeah, they're hermaphrodite. They have both sexes on them. So the earthworms line up, and they're satisfying each other. They're giving sperm and egg exchanges both ways.
So they both can get impregnated by each other.
Right.
Wow.
And that's what drives them out to meet each other on a raining Saturday night.
Dang.
But if they're each coming out of an individual hole, how does that work?
Well, they've been in the ground all day hunting and
But
eating.
if one pops up here and one pops up here and they can't reach each other, like how do they know to pop up?
Well, the more water there is on the ground, they'll move around. They're not always
Oh, so-
connected to their hole.
that's
They'll
right,
come
yeah.
right on out of the hole and look around and try to find somebody. Of course, it's not all about sex. They also come out just to enjoy a nice
To get hydrated.
to get outside and some nice, warm, moist soil and talk, meet each other. But a lot of times they'll end up back at their apartment.
What happened to your tail? Some dude grabbed it, broke it off. Man.
I believe for the longest time, so much fake news of my youth, but that an earthworm had multiple hearts, and that if you split it in half, both halves would live on.
It does have 7 circulation areas, but they're all in the same stretch of the body. So there's an area called the clitellum, the band, and that's what, when you were looking for them, you always look for that band, because that's at the head. So you go behind it.
Right.
And the rest of that, so from the clitellum on down, that's just like body. It doesn't have a heart. So if it doesn't have a specific heart, it has 7 circulation areas that are enlarged, and they're all in this in that section of the frontal part of the earthworm. So they say they have 7 hearts, but that's really kind of not the way it really is.
Right.
And
And
you
both
defi-
halves would
and,
never
and,
live.
if you cut him in half, that bottom half is just like his legs.
Right.
That's gonna die very quickly.
But the top half could live on.
So if you're a fisherman, you already know this. If you're a bait fisherman, you take that night crawler and you split him in half with your finger, because you can't afford to put a whole earthworm on a whole night crawler. So sometimes you'll do it in thirds, depending on how big they are. But if you cut them in half, you always use the back half first.
Because it'll wiggle for a little while.
It'll be alive until it dies, but it'll die a lot quicker. And then when you put it back in the bucket, the one with the heart's still going to be alive while the other one's in the process of dying. So there you go. That's your bait fishing tip of the day.
You ever gone fishing with earthworms? You ever put a worm on a hook?
Oh,
You never done it?
I think I have. I don't like touching worms.
To each his own.
Some worms bite you, right? The blood worms or something.
Yeah, those are the ones they sell down at the beach. They're not fishing worms at all. They live in the water. They call them blood worms, and they have a lot of blood, but they will bother you,
Did you ever
irritate
get
you.
leeches on you when you're out in the river?
Yeah, you ever had a leech on you?
I have had a leech somewhere out west, but I've never had them around here.
Do you remember that story?
Well, I just saw it and knocked it off, and I knew what it was, and so I didn't discovered it later or anything. No, I never had one.
What a nightmare that is. That's the kind of stuff that just makes your skin crawl.
Don't people still use leeches sometimes?
For healing? I don't know.
I think that'd be very primitive, don't you?
Yeah, but people like that primitive. How about cupping? Have you ever had that? Isn't that something?
I feel like I've done that.
You have done that?
Mm-hmm. But I can't remember what for.
Have you ever done it?
No. I don't know why you do it, do you?
No,
It's
I
the
can't
help.
remember that.
It's the pain or something.
Is it
isn't
sort of like an acupuncture kind
I
of?
think
It's
so,
in the
yeah.
same school. You ever had acupuncture? You ever had acupuncture?
No. Have you?
No.
I've had friends that have had it done it for like to quit smoking and stuff, like not for pain, but like it redirects your brain or your cravings or something.
How about that?
What I know about cupping is it encourages blood flow to a very specific area with a higher concentrated rate of blood flow
That makes
to a
sense.
specific area. Like it helps with like
For healing?
rehabilitation. A lot of athletes do it, like in between games or whatever.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I've seen guys have them on their basketball player. I just thought they had a weird girlfriend. Well, I don't, you know.
Hey, I'm not going to kink shame. Each to their own. So my guitar, that one, the brown one, is named Leo. And we just heard today that the new pope is taking on the name Leo.
Wow!
So in Nathan's land, in my little world, that's fun news.
That
It's like
is.
the new pope is Leo. Yeah. Every time I play it now, I'm
Right.
a little more respect. It's a guitar of God.
You said it about
Cupping the Pope over there.
Now, you know any famous Leos? I can only think of one.
Leonardo DiCaprio or Da Vinci. I guess
That's not a Leo.
those aren't Leos.
Leo
huh?
Sayers.
Leo Sayers.
Leo
yeah.
Sayers. And the only one I can think of is Leo DeRocher.
Never heard of him.
Really? Manager, San Francisco, New York Giants. Yeah, he was just back in the 60s and 70s. He was a ball player before my time, and then he was a manager when I was a youngster.
What do you think these guys were really named Leonard or something? Oh, that was their real name, Leo.
You think Leo is short for Leonard?
You think so?
I think there are those, but I think there are
Leos.
just pure Leos.
Proper Leo. I mean, it's a whole astrological sign, right? A lion or something.
Leo
You
the
could be a
lion.
Leo.
Yep, Leo the
I
lion.
wonder what the origin of that is. Definitely not Leonard. It's short for Leonard the
My
lion.
uncle's name is Greg, and my grandmother, whatever she introduced him, it's Greg, G-R-E-G-G. It's not short for Gregory. It's G-R-E-G-G. Like,
Standalone.
like I don't want anybody to confuse you for Gregory. Like, why does that bother you so much? You know? I told you, damn kids, it's not Gregory. Get out of here.
Leo.
Tech support says Leo Nocentelli. Never heard of that.
Where is he from?
musician.
That's a musician.
I think he's a bass player, maybe. I might have that wrong.
Oh, contemporary.
Yeah. And Leo Kottke.
Oh,
Leo
yeah.
Kottke.
There you
I saw
go.
him once.
Yeah. Really?
Yep,
Wow.
I saw
Yep,
Leo Kottke
Me
once.
too.
You did?
Yep,
Where'd you see him?
in Charlottesville.
Really?
Yep, might have been the same place. you said.
No, I saw him on my cross country trip with my Blake
No,
professor.
actually, it might have been in Harrisonburg. It was at James Madison College.
Yeah, I don't think I
back
was with you
a
for
long
that.
time ago.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's No. I was wondering what was his nationality. This
That's a good question.
the new Leo.
Oh, he's American.
The Leo tech sport was talking about plays with the meters.
Isn't he the first American?
I don't know, but they were, they said all the MAGA people were very happy that he was American.
Oh no.
And then one of his first things he said was against Trump. So
He's a Chicago guy, right?
yeah.
Really?
Most Intelli's a guitarist for the Meters,
Oh wow.
the Funky Meters.
Leo Kaki is just an American guitarist and composer, according to Percy. Somebody was asking that, right?
What was Leo Sayers' song?
Dancing? Something dancing?
Oh yeah, God, that was
Keep on dancing? Something like that?
yeah, God, that's crazy.
Wait, that was his song?
Dancing. Now what was that? Yeah, God.
Dancing that away.
Was
That one?
him?
No, I don't know.
Oh, something.
I might not even be on the right track.
Let's
I've
see
been
what
getting
Percy
off the
says.
track a lot lately.
Who sang that?
What were Leo Sayers' hits?
What was that? Knocking on my ceiling. Knock 3 times on the ceiling.
Ceiling
Was
if
that
you
Leo
want.
Sayers?
I don't think so.
We know a lot of songs, but none by Leo Sayers.
All right, here we go. You make me feel like dancing, gonna dance the night away. You make me feel like
I
dancing.
nailed that.
Well, they don't make them like him anymore.
They don't
Steve.
make hair like that anymore.
Long, tall glasses, I can dance. I don't know that one. There's a whole list of songs. I bet if we heard them, we'd recognize it.
Now,
Orchard Road.
back in the day when you were into music, would you watch all the music shows back then, like Soul Train or the dancing? What was
American
the one?
Bandstand.
American Bandstand. Oh yeah, American Bandstand was big hit. You had to check that out, especially if you're going to the record hop at night, because you had to know what was cool.
That was a big deal.
It was a very big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to practice and watch them, see what they were doing, try to go up there and act like a Philadelphia teenager.
I just saw a very inspiring, it was fun to me, an inspiring movie about the monkeys.
Really.
It was like a reenactment or like a biopic or what, not a documentary, but an actual movie with 4 people playing them that didn't really look anything like them, but it's just such a fascinating story because you ever watch the Monkees growing up, the show?
Yeah.
For young people that might not know who it is, this is like in the 60s. The TV network, ABC or something, decided they would capitalize on this like Beatles phenomenon and stuff and make a sitcom based around a band. And so they created this band that was sort of a fictitious band, but then they had auditions and got 4 people and they had to be musicians, they had to be able to play. And so they created the Monkees. And a lot of people talk about it like, oh, it's complete BS. Like the TV station just fabricated this band, and which is all true, but there's still like some serendipity. It's like some divine, I feel like, manifestation that these 4 guys got the gig because they had a great energy together,
Oh, yeah.
and they really did sing. And they played music. I mean, and it was fun. Like in the show, they were depicting the struggle that these 4 guys had of wanting to be taken seriously as musicians, because they were in the midst of it, and like there was that energy already at the time of like, you're not a real band, and them wanting to prove that they were. And it's just so fascinating and such a great collection of songs from that whole thing.
Well, you can't talk about that too long before you have to mention Michael Nesmith,
Right,
because he was. I think if you talk about that energy, and he was the writer. He those songs are what made them. And
but they didn't really write a lot of
That
them.
was my question. Who's writing that music?
Like
I
there
think
was,
Michael Nesmith wrote a lot of the
Yeah, he
best
was a good
songs.
writer.
but not
Yeah.
not Not out of the gate. He fought for that, like, because they had a guy that
Well,
was
that's
writing
what I
all
meant,
their
the way that they
songs.
lasted and became a real band later on
Mm-hmm.
was because of him, not the original.
Really, like, according to the movie, like, their demise was by the end of season 2, they were at a crossroads. Like, do we do a season 3 or do we go out into the world and try to make it as a legit band? And the TV was willing to let them do a season 3, but they had to do a season 3 according to their rules. And they were like, nope, we're gonna head out. And they made a movie with Jack Nicholson called Head, the Monkees.
Really?
And it was a psychedelic flop.
Wow.
It was just like unwatchable. And it was just such a
I
fascinating.
never even heard about that.
Head. Yeah, it was
That's the name of the album too.
Is it
and
still
then,
out there?
then after,
Yeah.
oh, it was so fast. There was so many little interesting parts. Here's a trivia question: who opened for the Monkees on their first U.S. tour?
Jimi Hendrix.
Bam! Ding, ding, ding! We have a winner.
Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix.
Oh my God.
It was fascinating because they were like, they worshiped Jimi Hendrix. They were like, oh my God, this guy is like such a profound new sound or whatever, and their thinking was, now the world will take us seriously because we got Jimi Hendrix opening our first tour. But like at the end of the first night, they were like, all the teeny boppers that came to see the Monkees didn't understand what was going on stage. They just started chanting for the Monkees while Jimi Hendrix was playing. So they were not, there were so many struggles there, them just trying to break out of this TV mold to be taken seriously as a band.
Right.
So interesting. I was a big fan of the Monkees growing up. Some of those 45, I mean, just genuinely, I fell in love with them through your records.
Sure.
First, you put on Daydream Believer. I mean, come on. I mean, who could resist that? I didn't even know that they were that's why I was so mind blown when I found out that they were a TV show. I was like, what? Wait a second. And so they were a band that the studio decided to make a show? No, the studio decided, what came first was the studio decided to create a band for a show.
What was the band that was the actual Monkees? Remember that? Remember they had like Sir Lancelot Link, like the monkey detective. Then they had a band of actual monkeys.
God, that's like a distant memory. I feel like
I can't remember what that was called.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't either. But I felt a little tingle of a memory.
I think it was like around the same time.
What'd you want to use the whiteboard for?
Oh, I was thinking I had a lessons, but I'm not going to be able to do it tonight. But I just wanted to make sure you had it in case I'm not prepared at this time. I do have a place I did have something I was going to talk about. I can,
Please.
that I'm ready to talk about. And it fits into what you were talking about earlier. But I had the idea the other day that we ought to write among us and any of your friends that listen to you at night and everything. Any of y'all that are listening now, you can help us. But I was thinking we ought to write a musical. And I'm pretty serious. It's about as serious as I'm going to get about anything these days.
So there's no need to listen, really.
You know, we had a little
Come on, tell us.
We had a little trouble last
Tell
week.
us, come on.
I'm beginning to.
He's pushing it.
Come on, Michael Nesmith. Tell us your ideas.
I'm thinking I might have to take you out in the back for a second.
I'd go out in the front so everybody can see.
Well, you don't want to see him after it's over. I guarantee. Gee, I can't remember what it was.
A musical.
Oh yeah, I got that far. That's good. That's good. Now, all right. Now here, I wrote one. They would be vignettes from any song, and you have a little scene, and it wouldn't have to be But I was thinking, and it fits in good with some of the things you've been saying about your music and my records growing up. But this happened when I was listening to an oldie station the other day in the afternoon. I have usually a few hours to kill, and I smoke my pipe and think about
What
the
is
world.
the oldie station now? 80s, 90s?
Well, I don't listen to it on the radio. I listen to it on television. So it's 402. It's the 60s.
You could probably pick any decade as a different
Yeah,
channel.
if you want to go 70s, I can do that, and then they have the classic. Yeah, I switch around. Sometimes I'll put on stuff I don't know, like hip hop, and try to figure all that out. But so I was listening to the oldie station, and the song that came up was James and Bobby Purify singing. They only had one big hit.
Can't remember.
Told us, I can't remember what her
Yeah,
name
I
James
feel like
and
we
Bobby
talked about it.
Purify did the hit song.
What kind of name is that?
Well, they're two brothers,
Purify.
James Purify, and his brother was Bobby Purify. So they came on being
It
James
was
and
so
Bobby.
weird the way that worked.
But both of you can sing the song, at least the first
Yeah,
verse.
you
or two.
know, I mean, you told us one other time, I can't remember.
I'm your puppet.
Your puppet?
You know.
This is a song I should know already.
Well, yeah, I thought you would.
Mm-hmm.
But so what we have is a scene. The thing opens, and you can make a scene. The scene I had was a woman up on a Romeo and Juliet scene, with a woman up on her little balcony, and this guy comes out, but he's got ropes on him, and he sings "I'm Your Puppet," and then at the end of the song, she just kind of turns around and walks away off the stage up there, and he sits down and puts his hands on his head and starts to cry, and then you walk out and you sing "Dear Puppeteer."
Ah, look at that.
And you just you can do it any way you want to do it. You just come out and sing it. And at the end of the song, he looks up and he takes some scissors and cuts the ropes and walks away, and then she walks out and they meet each other and walk away, or, just make up something romantic. But that's a vignette, and it's based on that song, creating that memory, and then you writing that completely different song with that little issue in the front.
Mm-hmm.
And then that takes about 3 or 4 minutes, and then the rope closes, and then it closes, and then you do about 12 vignettes.
So each song would play on the one that was before?
You could either make it a story, like a story of, that would be when he was a young person before he was doing his own thing, and he was trying to do it right. That, in other words, you could make that into a plot, or you could have each one be a separate vignette.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on what you wanted to do with her, and you could write one, and in other words, you could get your gang out there as part of your exercises and say, all right, what do we want to do with this one?
Right, like
Maybe some of your songs are stories, and you could weave those stories into a plot, or you could just leave each one to be a story. But not all of your songs would be, but a lot of your songs lend themselves to creating an image like that.
but theatrical.
Nobody likes to be a theatrical.
Yeah, exactly.
I just can't sing them like that.
No. And of course, the problem we're going to have is that you won't be able to do them the same way every time.
Right.
So we'll have to hire somebody to do your part. But you understand that. That's just a business decision.
Can you write something?
Mm-hmm.
We'll get Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet. Boy, I don't know what leaving song to do after all that. This is Leo.
Leo. That's right at 8:30. Perfect time.
We did it. The Pope.
Good luck, Pope.
Yeah. Have fun with it, Pope. Give him heaven. Show mercy. Be silly, be honest, and always trust your cape. That's how I
Where'd that
Oh,
guy-
goodness.
where'd
That's
that
how I
guy
end
go?
every practice. See those reflexes?
You
That was
should
very good.
you should have played your putting off going to heaven song for the Pope.
All right.
Keep us all around with you, Pope.
Not sure what the song is. I want to play like Jelly Roll Morton, ride like Waldo Emerson, sing like Odetta, say give me liberty. Like Patrick Henry, I want to escape like Houdini on the very last breath. I want to fly straight as an arrow, crooked sparrow. I want to swallow fire, I want to paint the town red. I want to understand under, and hold the whole world up over my head.
I love that. I haven't heard this in a long time.
I want to die in battle, grow old with a wife, catch every kind of fish. Lord, I'd give anything if I could play the fiddle. I want to know the recipe for every dish. I want to bust some moves on the dance floor. I want to sit in the back of a smoky-ass debaucherous den. I want to live to be 120, tell wondrous tales to my great-great-grandchildren. I want to be a stand-up comedian. I want to start a new twist in philosophy. I want to be a cowboy and an Indian. I want to be an E.E. Cummings apostrophe. I want to be fluent in every language. I want to be a painter, the next Abby Hoffman. I want to be the mayor of my hometown in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I got to get out there more often. Yeah, I want to take the plunge to the depths of madness. I want to sit in the clear like a Buddhist monk. And I want to turn the tables like Jesus. I want to cross all borders in a smuggler's trunk. I want to write code like a rogue programmer. I want to sell potions on the side of the street. I want to survive some grisly summer, learning which berries are safety. I want to do tricks in a biplane smoking, be able to fix anything that gets broken. I want to hang on when the questions are spoken. I want to let go when the wind is blowing. I want a light bulb to go off in my head like Einstein. I want to get my brain around what Edison said. I want to understand under, and hold the whole world up over my head. I want to understand under, hold the whole world up over my head. That's all. Just want to understand under, hold the whole world. Yeah.
Woo!
True story.
Yes.
Thank you all
Yeah.
so much. We'll see you next time.
I love that song. That's a great song.
I was on a roll that day.
I love that. There's so many good images in there.